The former governor of the great state of Massachusetts joins us now. Gov, how are you?
I'm terrific, Laura. Good to be with you this morning.
It's great to talk to you. I know you're on the motor coach going through South Carolina, the big primary tomorrow, and this issue last night came up again of the tax returns, and the narrative from the most folks in the media, including some of our mutual friends, are that you fumbled that question again. And my question to you, Governor, is: did you know that your father had released all of those tax returns back in 1967?
Oh yes, and we talked about that beforehand, and what he did in 1967 is very different than what's going to happen today. So, but I was aware of his experience. I remember reading it in Look magazine. We used to have Look magazine long ago, and the idea that I'm supposed to follow exactly what my dad did is not something that I find terribly compelling. We disagreed in the past.
So in other words, the fact that he released all these tax returns doesn't mean you have to release them.
Yeah, I admire my dad, but we don't do exactly things in the same way. But as I've indicated, I'm going to release my tax returns, and we'll do it when I am able to get the tax return for this year completed, and like to release them all at one time.
And at that point, Governor, is there going to be anything in the tax returns that you think play into what this stereotype that we've been blasting away at on the Laura Ingraham Show, the class warfare, that you're the monopoly guy with the top hat, that you're the guy with the tuxedo and the top hat and 15% and all that? I mean, is there anything else in there that people should be concerned about?
Well, what's funny to me is that we have these financial disclosure forms which describe all of the investments that have been made, by the way, by a blind trust. My investments have been managed by a trustee in a blind trust for the last 10 years. But all that blind trustee put out there, all the investments that he has made in my behalf, it's all available. So if you want to calculate what kind of income you think I might have, well, you can just look at the various assets and look at what the dividends have been and the interest and the capital gains. You can figure it out. I think what they want to show is that I'm wealthy. And let me tell you, I am wealthy. I've been successful. I did not inherit my wealth. I created my wealth. And the good news is that was done in a way that, fortunately, helped build the economy and interestingly also helped create jobs.
So you won't release the tax returns unless you become the nominee. Is that the case?
No, I just said I want to release them all at the same time. And what I don't want to do is dribble them out and have some returns come out now, and then we have to wait until April until the 2011 tax returns are filed. So we have the DNC going at it again and saying, "Oh, we found this is a different number." I mean, it's the inevitable dripping faucet.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting, Laura, is this hasn't been an issue before. I'm kind of curious as to why it's suddenly an issue. I mean, John McCain put out his tax returns in April. George W. Bush put his tax returns out in April. It's been a tradition to do it at the tax filing season. I'm kind of curious
because
as to why.
Yeah, you know why? Because they see you as the stereotype of the one percenters. And I'm a one percenter, but I'm not as much of a one percenter as you. I wish I was, but they're working on making the big stereotype for the general election, and so I don't care. The last thing I care about is your tax returns. I think the whole thing is ridiculous. But the bottom line is this is a different time, right? And Gingrich dumps his tax returns yesterday. He pays, I guess, about 31%. He needs tax advice from you, by the way, if he's paying that much. So 31%. So that's why it's relevant now. Because it's a different time. We have income disparity, and that's going to be a big issue in this election.
I think that was an issue 4 years ago as well, but maybe I'm wrong. So I will be releasing my tax returns, Laura. I don't know how many times I can say that to everybody out there. I will release my tax returns as soon as I have them.
All right.
and then we'll be able to take a look at them.
Governor, last night you didn't answer the question at the debate about whether you thought the comments by Marianne Gingrich and all of that was relevant in this calculation for the voters. I'll ask you the question: Is that a relevant issue for you, and should it be for the voters?
As I said last night, I think we should concentrate on the issues that face the nation. My campaign is certainly not delving into Marianne's interview or the speaker's response to it. The people of America make their own judgments on matters like that, and I'm not going to be the judge and jury on that. That's very much an area that people are able to consider on their own.
So it's not an issue then. So it's not an issue.
It's certainly not a political issue, a campaign issue. It's not an issue for what faces the country, and that's, of course, what I think drives our nation as we consider who ought to be our president.
And Governor, the president and vice president, secretary of Treasury have said that, look, the economy is getting better. It's creating jobs month to month. It's not growing as fast as anyone wants, but it's getting better. You've also noted that there are signs of improvement on the horizon in the economy. How do you answer the president's argument that the economy is getting better in a general election campaign if you yourself are saying that it's getting better?
Well, of course it's getting better. The economy always gets better after a recession. There's always a recovery. There's never been a time anywhere in the world where an economy has never recovered. The question is, has it recovered by virtue of something the president's done, or has he delayed the recovery and made it more painful? And the latter is, of course, the truth. The president's policies have made this recession deeper and have made the recovery more tepid and more difficult on the American people. This is the worst recovery we've seen from a recession since Hoover. And President Obama wants to take credit for things getting better. He, in fact, has made things worse. He's made this recovery take much longer. But will our economy get better someday? Of course it will. And it will not be thanks to President Obama. It will be in spite of President Obama. And that's, of course, the message we have to give. If people think the right course for improving an economy is to massively expand debt and the federal government, why, they can vote for Barack Obama. But we know better.
But isn't it a hard argument to make if you're saying, like, okay, he inherited this recession and he took a bunch of steps to try to turn the economy around, and now we're seeing some more jobs, but vote against him anyway? Isn't that a hard argument to make? Is that a stark enough contrast?
But if you got a better one, Laura, it just happens to be the truth. I mean, we're going to see the numbers in terms of how the economy does. It's very possible, by the way, that the economy will go into a decline again. I mean, I can't tell you that I can predict that it's going to get better, but I think at some point it's going to get better. But I don't think President Obama is helping it. I think he's been far less effective than he should have been in being able to turn the economy around. I think if we elected John McCain, we'd be in a better position today. But do I think the economy will get better at some point? Yeah. But, by November of 2012, we'll see if it's gotten better or not. The key for me is that if you look at what's happened to American employment, the reason our unemployment rate has come down is because of the number of people who dropped out of the base of workable of the workforce, and him taking credit for people becoming so desperate that they drop out of the workforce altogether is a very weak position from which he'll be campaigning.
How do you stop Newt with his appeal in the South moving into the other primary states? How will you, as a Massachusetts guy, compete with him?
I will get the chance to post up against Newt in not just the South, but of course the Midwest and the West and all over the country. I expect that Newt will win some primaries and contests, and I expect I will as well. And my job is to make sure I get the most delegates by the time we're finished, hopefully 1,150 or so. And I have a path to do that, but I'm not expecting to win them all. And he has a message that he'll carry. I think the great difference between the two of us is that he spent the last 30 or 40 years either being an elected official in Washington or being a person that connects people in Washington, a lobbyist, if you will. And I just can't imagine that the United States of America is going to replace a Washington politician with another Washington politician.
Mitt Romney, we really appreciate your joining us, and we wish you the best of luck tomorrow. And you guys have been slugging it out, and every candidate on that stage last night deserves an enormous amount of respect, including the former governor of Massachusetts. Governor Romney, thank you so much.
Thanks, Laura. Good to be with you.